Hello there, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the podcast. Now, hopefully, you will recognise. Well, actually, no, you might not have seen Duncan. Actually, so Duncan Balcon, welcome back
Oh,
to the
thank you.
podcast. Yeah, I mean, this is like the, this is getting the band back together and all that sort of thing. Duncan, for those of you who don't know, is well. I mean, you've done rather a lot of podcasts, haven't you?
I have,
With
yeah. To be honest, I've lost track with the number now, but
yeah.
we've done quite a few.
We have done a lot. I mean, we are trying to hit 1,000 episodes. This I think is going to be possible this year. I'm doing fewer of them these days because of lots of different things going on. During the week. But I think we'll get it. I think we'll hit that. So anyway, right. So Duncan, let's talk. Let's get back into it. Like putting on a pair of comfy old slippers once again, hopefully. So what story would you like to pick from today's Watson's Daily?
Yeah. So I've picked a story from the FT, Financial Times, originally, and this is about Ikea aiming to kind of lure people back into Oxford Street by opening a new kind of flagship store there.
Yeah.
That store's actually opening on Thursday, so quite soon. If anyone lives in London, you might want to go and check it out and let us know what it's like. But yeah, so Ikea obviously traditionally tend to be in kind of out of town locations, big retail parks, places with parking that's normally a massive, so you have to park 3 miles away, but there is parking there. So it's quite a departure for them to bring something so central to a city, and particularly to London. But they're saying that kind of, roughly speaking, half of their 6,000 products will be available to take away from that store, and all the others will be available for home delivery.
You have to pay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry.
So you can't just walk in, pick stuff up, and walk out.
Yeah. Like IKEA Go.
That would be good, wouldn't it? Oh God!
Do you know everyone just wandering out with a sofa? Sorry, carry on.
I don't know how strong you are. You've been doing too much CrossFit if you could just walk out somewhere with a sofa. So like I say, over half of those 6,000 products will be available to purchase and take away on the day. And the other kind of half will be available to purchase and have delivered to your home. I personally think this is kind of genius, really, particularly with London, because a lot of the kind of demographic of a city, particularly London, are people that probably, well, a lot of people won't drive. A lot of people will live in flats and apartments. And actually, the idea of being able to go somewhere, see everything built for you, rather than having to look at photos online and trying to imagine the size or imagine what it looked like in your room, and then being able to take it away in a much smaller package or have it delivered, I think really works within that kind of city location. Secondly, I think it's kind of good for Oxford Street, which has, as per most shopping streets in the country, seen a bit of a decline. So actually having somewhere like an IKEA in the middle, which rightly or wrongly implies stability, I think a company like IKEA investing in a location makes people go, oh, there's obviously some promise here, and it might encourage other people to put a bit more effort back into Oxford Street.
Yeah.
So I think kind of both in terms of the demographic of the area and in terms of what it could do for Oxford Street, this is quite exciting. And particularly with IKEA now being one of those places, I think is almost like an experiential day out, isn't it? Like, you're not just going furniture shopping, you're going to kit out your whole house. You might be kitting out your first uni dorm. You were saying earlier you might be shopping for stuff for a first baby. But all of that somewhere you can also wander around all day quite easily, and you can kind of scope out ideas, and you can grab lunch and dinner if you wanted to. Because there's only so meatballs now.
There's only so much meatball capacity, though, isn't there? Per
but they do hot dogs as well. They do things that aren't meatballs now as well, don't they? So there's an option to have 2 meals there. I think in terms of the choice of location and in terms of kind of the demographic they'll be working with, I think this is a really, really clever move. And I'll be interested to see if IKEA start doing similar things in other cities or other kind of high street locations. I just think, really clever timing, really clever placement, and potentially could be quite good for both IKEA and for Oxford Street. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, so I think that it's a great idea. It has been delayed many times. So, I mean, I don't know whether the timing was just the timing as opposed to them picking it, but I think that it will offer something to Oxford Street that Oxford Street hasn't had before. I mean, I also think not only will there be people who are actually going into, look at furniture and other things in there. I would imagine, surely, if you work in Oxford Street, you might even just go in there for the meatballs alone, because I mean, prices these days for a lunch are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that I mean, I don't know what their meatball prices are going to be like, but I last went to an IKEA at in December slash January, because I had to move out of my small box room that I've been, writing everything in and stuff for the last 10 years, so that my youngest son could have his first room on his own without sharing with his brother. And as a result, we had to think, oh, well, he needs a desk and he needs some shelves and this, that, and the other. And we went to IKEA, to either, if we saw something we liked, we buy some stuff there, or use it as a kind of inspiration, I guess. And I think that, translating that to having a city centre place like that is going to be interesting. And I think I would have thought it's going to be very popular. It's certainly going to be very, very popular when it opens. I really think it's going to be very popular. I think it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. If you've ever been to Oxford Street station on a Friday night at, say, 5 o'clock, and you imagine that plus people wandering along with a bully bookcase and a load of false plants or something like that, it's going to make things quite interesting at the station. But ultimately, I think it's a good idea. It's them following through on their plans to move away from the previous out of town big box model to town centres being closer to people. Like you say, I think for London in particular, it's a really good idea, because lots of people live in flats and rented accommodation, so they may want to buy the odd I don't know, either desk or desk stuff, bookcases, and then take it with them as they go to different rental properties, perhaps. So I think it's a really good idea. It's in a great place. I think it's going to be extremely popular. It'll be interesting to see whether we see more of that up and down the country. I mean, I live in Guildford, and it's quite a nice place. So basically, the centre, there's the High Street, which is supposedly, well, sort of famous, but it's known for like cobblestones. Although actually, technically, they're called setts, SETTS, right? But anyway, this particular,
like what a badger lives in.
I don't know. Yeah, basically, we've got this. There's this Guildford residents Facebook group or something, which is full of miserable people saying, "Oh yeah, Guildford was so much better in my day," and blah blah. And it's just, so many whingers. It's unbelievable. But every now and again, someone says, "Oh, something about the cobbles," and someone immediately jumps on them and says, "They're not cobbles, they're setts." Anyway.
Actually, I think you'll find
yeah,
they're not
exactly.
actually called cobbles.
Oh my god, it's just unbelievable. But anyway, so apart from these people needing to get a life, there's we've got a House of Fraser that's right. So there's the cobbled High Street. I'm going to call it cobbled, and then on the other side there's North Street, and basically they are the bread to the sandwich, to the filling in the middle of all the shops, and one of those is a House of Fraser, and that's right in the centre of Guildford. It's really big. It's got tons of space in there, and I've said for a long time, I really think that IKEA should be there, because, like I say, there's a lot of space in there. IKEA needs a lot of space, and what an amazing place for it to be, because you've got Surrey University here. You've got the College of Law just shut down. But there's lots of there's loads of student accommodation going on.
Yeah, because you've got 2 drama schools in Guildford as well, haven't you?
That's right.
You've got GSA and PPA.
That's right. Right. Yeah. You're very well versed in drama school stuff.
I do a lot of theatre, don't I?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So there's 2 drama schools. There is a lot going on here, and you think that, well, actually, you would have thought that this would be a good place for IKEA to be. But anyway, yeah. So I think that there will be. You would have thought that they will expand this portfolio. I think that IKEA in that the one in Oxford Street is probably going to be a bit. I mean, it's going to be a bit different because it's Oxford Street and it's right slap bang in the centre. But maybe they could learn a few things from there and see what works and what doesn't, and then expand out into other places. Hopefully, Guildford, if possible, because I think that we would need it really.
Yeah, and I mean, Guildford won't be unique in the sense of having a department store that is no longer operating. There are a lot of towns around the country that have got big department stores that have gone out of business or closed for whatever reason. So you think there'll be quite a lot of real estate there to be had that may not be overly expensive.
Yeah.
And councils are probably quite like the idea of it being IKEA because, big company, plenty of money, probably not going to go anywhere unless it's a really terrible experience for them. Now, they'll make a perfect tenant. So you'd think there's a lot of scope there for IKEA to find more locations. So it'd be interesting to see if this Oxford Street one works.
Yeah.
If they then pursue that in other areas. And I think places like Oxford Street and Guildford actually are perfect locations because most of the other shops around them are much higher end.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually quite nice, particularly places with large student populations, to have an option you can go to that's not really high end and luxury. Much as we were saying this earlier, IKEA stuff is now much better quality than it ever used to be. Like you buy a wardrobe, you can take it to multiple rental properties and take it apart, put it back together again loads of times. They're really well built now compared to what flat pack furniture used to be. But it doesn't carry the price tag of going into somewhere next door and buying like a solid oak bookcase or something. So I think it's really nice for those sorts of places to have that contrast and have options for people. So I really hope this is successful for them and it allows them to then look at other locations.
Yeah, because I think it should be good. We'll see what happens, and I think that it's important that it will be. I really want to see it do well. And by the way, just as a quick tip for anyone listening or watching this, listening to this or watching this, is that if you want a bookcase, I reckon you're far better off going on the second-hand market and buying a good bookcase because furniture goes for virtually nothing when you sell it off, as I have found in the past. So, you might buy something to spend a lot of money on it and, it's really good quality. And then you try and sell it on eBay or something and people like, 20 quid, 50 quid, and it's much better quality. So if I were you, if I were having my time again, I would say definitely check out the second-hand market. But there you go. Right. Life advice aside, let's talk about the story on Amazon. Actually, there were two stories on Amazon today. I'm going to really mainly talk about one of them. The other one that I won't talk about is it is about tariffs and the fact that Amazon looked like they were going to make it very obvious how much of what you were paying was tariff and how much was not. That was heavily criticised by the White House. That's a polite way of saying it. But anyway, actually, we're going to talk really about the other story about tariffs, and that was. What Amazon are doing now is obviously they are facing a lot of tariffs. They do source from China, and they've done incredibly well for that for a long time now. So what Amazon are doing now, they're squeezing the suppliers, and they're outlining some tough terms because they want to protect their margins. And I think that this is, well, first of all, it's unsurprising. They've got to do something. But secondly, I don't think it can continue. This is not really sustainable for the long term for many because although they're probably going to have to swallow this themselves, or these sellers on Amazon, there's only so far they can go, and there's only so long they can do this for. So I think that this has surely got to be an interim measure before Trump actually puts in some finalised tariffs. Because this is the thing, he caused a massive shock with his Liberation Day tariffs and the reciprocal tariffs, and and then there was a huge backlash. He then said, "Okay, 10%, and then we'll negotiate the rest." The problem is that, as everyone says, both markets and businesses hate uncertainty, and even though he seems to be coming to, willing to negotiate, it still means that there's a lot of uncertainty. And even if you think, well, I'm 60% sure he's going to do that, you don't want to take the risk.
So 60 is not enough to do business on, is it really?
No.
Anything less than 98 and they get twitchy.
Yeah. So I think that this is going to be very. So yes, they're doing it now. Yes, I can see that why it's happening, but I don't think it's sustainable. I also wonder what's going to happen with this. I mean, so in the past there was allegedly some secret division within Amazon. Does sound very exciting if it existed. And what they used to do is used to crunch the data. If there was a product that was, doing really well, this secret division would supposedly look at that, see the data, see who was buying, see what the potential margins were, go to their Chinese suppliers and say, "Hey, look, there's this thing that's doing really well on our site. Can you make it and make it cheaper?" To which they'd say, "Yeah, okay." And then they put it on there that everyone starts buying the cheaper Amazon version, and then the original version sort of fades away into the background. Now, I mean, I wonder whether Amazon may be able to better weather the tariffs, not only because they have more power over the suppliers, but also because they can potentially, I would argue, adjust their algorithm to prioritize products that either don't have any tariffs on them or are not as affected by tariffs. But I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one because usually when we're talking about kind of international trade and things, we're talking about Amazon being in a uniquely strong position.
Yeah.
And I think for once they are currently in a uniquely shaky position because the amount of products that are both produced and shipped internationally by Amazon is second to none, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a huge number of those will go through America.
Yeah.
At some point in their cycle. So I think it's a case of it is potentially a very shaky position for them. Like I said, particular things like their Amazon Basics range, which is exactly what you described. It's this is like this heated air is doing well. Let's see how cheap we can make one. And I think that particular division or particular area could be really shaky. So they may have to ease back on that a bit. But then they're also still, because of their algorithms, in quite a decent position, I think, to find a workaround. Because, like you said, all you need to do is find some way for the lower tariff or the tariff-free options to be at the top of everyone's search, or they may just have that Amazon recommended thing that comes up every time you search something. And if for all American users that becomes a product that's made and shipped from the States, they will probably be able to keep people away from the tariffs. They'll probably pay more for the base product, but less overall because there's no tariff on it, and still be selling things. But I think it's going to involve some very careful planning on Amazon's part to do that. And obviously, like I said, with things still being up in the air, they'll be playing a guessing game with it. So you're having to constantly adapt around what the tariffs might be tomorrow, what they were yesterday, and things like that. And I said to you earlier, and I'm going to be very careful how I word this, because I know that this will be contentious for a fair few listeners and watchers. But there is a chance, if you ignore the way it's been presented and ignore the kind of rhetoric around it, which I think is occasionally nasty and occasionally toxic, that actually these tariffs might end up being a really clever thing from the current administration, in the sense of they might encourage more Americans to buy American-made products rather than going for the cheapest option. I won't say much more than that, but it could end up being, I think, and I think the problem with it is the rhetoric around it isn't particularly positive, and it's not always been presented in a way, and it comes across occasionally quite aggressive and like they're trying to target other countries. When actually, if you branded it up as actually what we're trying to do is encourage more people to buy local, it sounds completely different. So I think, yeah, Amazon have got a slightly shakier position than usual, but I think they, like I said, have that opportunity to, through algorithm things, push people towards the products that have less tariffs on them, encourage locally bought stuff. And obviously, it's only America that they need to do that. In the rest of the world, they can still go for whatever product is cheapest and just change the algorithm. But I think with the, like you said, with the uncertainty, it's tough to make any big business calls because, like I said, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It could be, oh, actually, I've decided there aren't any tariffs on that tomorrow, or it could be they're now 125%.
Yeah.
And until, I think, like I said, until there's some stability in that, I think Amazon and like for like companies are going to be in a position where they don't really know what to do. So business, I think, will naturally slow down a bit until you get some variety of stability.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think there are opportunities there if you get your algorithms right and get the way people shop right online. There are opportunities there, so I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll obviously, we're early days yet. We're still in that whole, 90-day period where there could be bilateral trade deals and stuff being done. So we don't know. But, I've said I think, in one of the recent Watson's Dailies that I think whatever happens, Trump needs to at some point actually say, okay, everyone, this is it. No more. This is what the tariffs are going to be now for the rest of the term. Then everyone can at least get on with it. They can sort of go, actually, that ain't going to work. We're just going to shut down. Or they're going to go, okay, at least we know. We've sort of planned for the unknown. I think we're going to be all right. Let's keep going. But I think that unless he actually says this is the last one, then there's just going to be so much uncertainty because so much is being decided at the moment that I think just no one wants to do anything just in case he comes up with something that shocks them. So yeah.
And that's all it needs, that stability. And I'm just going to put my 2 pence worth on something else here because I think it's really important when discussing these sort of topics. And obviously there'll be a lot of people going for interviews and things that listen to this podcast that may end up talking about topics like this. I think it's really important to kind of try and take a step back and ignore the media rhetoric on it sometimes, which is inherently provocative and negative. And sit and go, well, actually, what has happened, what could happen, and try and keep emotion out of it because I think it's so easy to get angry about this. And actually, it might not be the worst thing in the world, but I think we have that tendency to assume it's going to be before it's all settled out. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in, like, try and to look different angles of it.
Yeah, I think this is the thing, when discussing this kind of stuff. Actually in the workplace as well, because it's not everyone thinks in a certain way, so you have to present this kind of stuff in a way where you can be more balanced, and I think that is very important to keep in mind. But anyway,
and that for me is specific to tariffs because there are some other stuff that's obviously happened that I personally can't condone in any way, shape, and form. But when it's specifically business and tariffs, I think it is possible to look at it, like I say, in an unemotional, less chaotic way, and have a balanced discussion about it. And ignore, I think, because of some of the other stuff that is, like I said, uncondonable for most people. Then the language used when talking about the tariffs then becomes the same language, even though it's a very different subject. So yeah, just. Something to get across, so no one thinks we're being inherently negative about something.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. No, absolutely. So there we go. I think we'll bring it to a close there. But
awesome.
Thank you very much, Duncan.
Thanks for having me.
A triumphant return. And I just, maybe people could comment. I'm not very good with comments, but maybe people can comment. Does Duncan look the way you thought he would look? For those of you who've never seen him before, just heard his voice. But yeah. Does the voice fit the face?
Try and keep those comments kind if you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, please do.
Yeah, no, I thought it'd be way more attractive. What the hell?
Yeah, no one's yet said. Oh, I thought that you looked taller on your video to me. which is good. But anyway, on that note, thank you very much indeed. Have a great day, and have a great day to everyone who's watching or listening to this. And we'll be back again very soon. Many thanks.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
Bye.